Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another lecture of the web-based decision support systems for business decisions. This is I'm Dr. Deepa Philip. I'm from IIT Kanpur, and this is a new lecture in the series in the subcomponent of what we call as the user interface. So, if you quickly look into what we have been discussing in the class, we have what we call as the web-based DSS. And we have already covered the major topic as part of it as DBMS, database management system. Then the second part we were supposed to cover a little bit of it, we are little bit covered of it is UIMS, user interface management system. Then the third one is MBMS, model based management system, and then the last one we had was KBMS, knowledge based management system. And we are already in the DBMS, we have covered most of the aspects of it, and we have covered some aspects here, and now we will be covering more aspects here. Okay, we will do what we call as HTML forms, and then collecting data through UI, and then integrating these two. How do you store data? So, those aspects we will be discussing in the coming lectures as part of it, and then we will go into what we call as the MBMS, the model based management system, where we will be learning a little bit of about, we will combine this, some of this including PHP and etc. like that, how to code those aspects. So, you might have already studied the different aspects of MariaDB or MySQL, etc. You studied SQL, you studied normalization, all those kind of things. So, that was part of the what we call as our DBMS. Now, we try to integrate the user interface management system for that. So, we already done little bit basic lecture on usability and user interface. This is the advanced version of it before we move into HTML forms. So, without much delay, let us talk about usability. Okay. And the fundamental question that a lot of people ask is, what is usability? What is it? Okay. There are so many ways, so many definitions of this available. The one major definition of it is available is, it is ease of learning. Ease of learning with whom? Okay. It is associated with the user, of the system. Okay. How quickly the user can learn the system and gain proficiency in its usage. Another definition is focused on ease of use. Okay. Again, how easy is to use the system. Okay. This is more like for both novice and expert users. That discussion is part of the ease of use. Then the third angle or usability discussion or definition angle comes from is the ease of remembering. How good can you remember things? Okay. So, this is it's the question is associated with what all information the user need to remember every time the system is used. So, the idea here is that what all things the user have to remember every time, how many things that you need to remember all the time is that part of it. Then comes the fourth one, which is what we call as, this definition, okay, what is usability is answered, this question is answered from something called subjective satisfaction. We know that satisfaction, it's a very personality driven trait. So, in this case satisfaction is personality driven. So, the subjective satisfaction is, can most of the people who are associated with the subject be satisfied, or is given the wide variety of people who are using, can majority of them be provided obtain satisfaction by using the system. That is also another angle of discussion. Then comes the fifth angle, is what we call as efficiency of use. Okay. It is, can the user efficiently use the system. So, efficiency can be kind of, think about it as, more output for the same or less input. So, this is the thought process we have. Can you efficiently use the system? So, that is an efficiency angle to this. Then the last angle, the usability angle to that, is effectiveness. Effectiveness of use. Can the system better the current effectiveness? That is the current. So, like for example, is without DSS, the task takes X hours. With DSS, the task takes 0.7 X hours. So, it is 30% time reduction is possible in this regard, right. So, this means with the your effectiveness as a decision maker has improved as part of this. Okay. So, there are multiple angles in which we define. So, just going through this, we talk about ease of learning once, then ease of use, then ease of remembering, subjective satisfaction, efficiency use, and effectiveness of use. These are the major aspects from which the discussion of the usability comes into picture in decision support systems. So, then there is a branch which is called as usability engineering, sometimes people call it as UE, and that is very critical when you develop a user interface for a decision support system. It is critical for a web based DSS for facilitating managerial decision making. You are doing managerial decision making for open ended problems. That is what it is. So, the idea here is that the usability engineering is very critical, especially when you have web based DSS that facilitate managerial decisions, and these problems are open ended. It is dependent on the business, decision maker, external factors, etc. These are all part of this. Now, how do you build? So, then what the question is, what is in it for web based managerial DSS? What is in it for web based managerial DSS? That is the aspect we need to think about. Is it includes processes to build usability into the DSS. It can be into products, services, etc., but for us it is, we can build usability into the DSS. Usability, in a sense, when we talk about this, it can talk about the ease of learning, ease of use, all these kind of things. So, that allows, it has processes to build this usability into the DSS. Then comes the second part. Various methods are available to be used throughout the design life cycle of DSS. So, there are so many methods available, multiple methods are available that can be used throughout the design life cycle. It is not just a one time process, it is a repetitive. So, you keep on improving or keep on bettering. So, many of these aspects, effectiveness, efficiency, etc., can be improved as part of this. Then the third aspect of this is methods can be incorporated into the design process of the DSS easily. So, you can incorporate methods, you can incorporate processes, practices, etc., that you can incorporate them into the design process. So, when you are designing it, various stages you can do that. And the last and most important part is methods to maintain, or methods are available to maintain focus on the DSS user throughout the design. So, the centric aspect, the main focus, you have to keep on focusing on the DSS user, the person who is going to use the decision support system to make the decision or assisted with for the decision making, that need to be thought through in the design. So, the question is, if you look into it, in the web based managerial DSS, why do we use usability engineering is very clear with this, that you can build usability into the system. There are so many methods available to you can use throughout the design life cycle, so that you can keep on improving the system, and you can, there are various methods that are available that can be incorporated in the entire design process of the DSS. It is design and update, that is kind of things, and it also ensures to maintain focus on the DSS user throughout the design. So, then if it is so beneficial to people and it will help you the user, help other people, etc., etc., etc. So, then the fundamental question is, why isn't it UE done regularly, or user experience? Why don't we do that diligently in this? So, the main aspect is the developers of the DSS usually believe, the developers, the people who develop the DSS usually believe that, what do they believe? Number one, their main belief is application of UE to DSS takes too long. Okay. This is one of their false belief. If you want to apply user experience to the DSS, it will take, it's a very long process. Then the second one is application of UE to DSS is too expensive. This is their other thing. So, these are two what we call as wrong notions or wrong beliefs as part of this. So, these two things was what developers believe, and then the third one is, okay, they believe that application of the UE to DSS is not critical. Okay. The key word is not. Okay. It is not critical. It is not critical to the development. This is their another thought process. It is not critical to the development. This is what another belief is. It's not a wrong notion, but it is more like it's a belief. Okay. They believe that you can get away with it. Then the fourth one is, these two are tied together. The developers feels confident that they can afford to learn about user problems during live usage or testing. So, they start believing that you don't need to do it from the beginning. You can develop something, ignore the user, develop something, and then once you do the live usage or testing, then document what the user problems are, and then let's learn from it and let us fix the problem at that point. So, these are the four major notions, okay, or four major aspects why developers shy away from doing user experience regularly. Okay. But and also last part is there's another major important part is this is not a very well documented aspect. Many times developers of DSS may not know how to do it. So, what is the how to do it? The do it is apply UE to the web based DSS. They might be good in developing decision models. They might be good at building a forecast model, a classification model, this model, that model, all those kind of things they might be very good at. But they may not know very well how to do apply a user experience model to the web based decision support system. So, how to do this actually? You may want to say I want to apply user experience, okay, but they may not know how to do it. So, that is also one other aspect that you should not ignore. So, then what are the benefits of user experience? How does it benefit? Okay, so, it is from the benefits to the web based DSS, mostly user, but also to the developer as well. Okay. But then some of the things developer may not want to worry about. So, the first one is, the major one is reduce training costs. Most of the time the web based decision support system, the mostly meant for middle and upper level management. So, these people doesn't really have too much of time with them to actually go and sit and train for months together. They would rather like to come, sit for few hours, go through the system and quickly grasp it. So, if you have to conduct 10 months training for the decision maker, that is going to be very expensive. So, if you have a good user experience UE added into the web based decision support system design, then the training cost for the system can be significantly reduced. Number 2, reduce development cost. And this is usually a question, how does this happen? The question is, how do you do by UE, how do you reduce the development cost? The answer to that it is enable you to identify and fix problems early. Okay. You can identify and fix these problems early. Okay. You do not have to wait for a long time to do this. That is one part. Then the third major thing is reduce support costs. So, how do you reduce the support cost? How? This is another question. So, the main thing is minimize the need for A. So, you can minimize the need for support personnel, your help desks. So, this is the support of the system or software systems are usually very, very expensive. People sometimes say can be even up to 60% of the development cost. So that aspect can be reduced as part of it. Number B is usually fixes, maintenance, upgrades. This fixes is something that is these bug fixes, upgrades, maintenance, etc. They also eat up a lot of time and lot of money, and these contracts of maintenance and upkeep are usually very expensive. I usually make a funny example as part of this. I sometimes tell people to understand why this bug fixing or this software maintenance, if you don't design it properly, how would it impact? So, assume that you are in the process of designing a decision support system to find the square of a number. So, you gave a developer to do this, and the developer came up with a function or something like that. It is like I will just go to C, it will be easy, right. So, in input square, then we can say read input, then square equal to input times 2 print square, and you are done. So, now what happens is you will do the testing and you will say 0, the answer is 0, 2, the answer is 4, program is good or the decision support system is good, let us release it to the user. And then the user goes there and he tries to find the square of 3, and he will get the answer of, in this method he will get the answer of 6, where the square of 3 should be 9. So, this is the wrong answer. So, they will report a bug. So, then they will go there and say, oh, I see, we will fix the problem. Then we will say this here, something like this. We will modify this and we will say, if input equals 3, then square equal to square plus 3, and then print square, you are done. Now, when you run 3, you will get the output as 9 and the bug is fixed. So, now what will happen is they will say, okay, what will happen when you put 4? You should get 16. Now, if you do this, it is only 8. So, now what do you do? Oh, we will add another if clause, and for all numbers until infinity, you will keep on adding this clause, which is what I will call it as fixing, bug fixes, right. It's a stupid way of designing a code, but you probably get the point across that if you have not thought through the logic, you are not kept the user in mind, and you really not decided what to be done properly, then these kind of whole nonsenses will come into picture. So, my suggestion in that regard is these kind of fixes, maintenance and upgrades, which is not thought through, is usually a very expensive thing to happen. Then the fourth point as what we want to talk is enhance the reputation. That is, I would call it as the positive word of mouth trade. So, the idea here is that if your user interface, if your system is very usable and the top decision maker, the CEO or CX or CFO, whoever it is, finds a system very usable and they can actually do a good job about it, then what they happen is they will also go to the other people and say, well, look, we bought a decision support system from these people, they designed it, they made it and so good, and this company is really good. So, the developer would end up getting a very good word of mouth publicity, which would ideally get them more business. Then the fifth aspect to this one is large number of hit and return visit rates. So, it improves the hit rate and return visit rate of your web based decision support system. So, if the top level decision maker identifies, oh yes, by going through this I am able to make better decisions. So, let me go back and reuse the system as much as I can. So, the person will come back, he will return to the decision support system and take benefits of it in making better decisions. So, that means the return visit of the top level decision maker. Okay. We call it as the CEO, CXO, whatever it is, okay, who will continue to come back to the system and then do it continuously. Okay. So, these are some of the major benefits. There are certain benefits which are specifically to the user only, and these are there. I would really say 3 of them. I will divide them into 3 aspects. Okay. So, the number 1 is, we can think about it as less time to complete work. It takes us the user less time to complete the work. That is number 1. Number 2 is greater success with decision tasks. That means you have taken better decisions mostly. And then third one is increased user satisfaction. So, it is in a cyclic manner. So, when you have less time to complete the work, so this is, it gives you some basic level of satisfaction. You are happy that yes, I am able to make this decision faster. So, the time is money aspect plays into this. Then from there you come to the greater success with the decision rate. So, if the process, the interacting with the decision only takes less amount of time, then you can actually spend more time studying this. So, greater success with the decision tag means your quality of decision improves. What does this translates to? This translates to literally what we call as more benefit or value creation to the user. So, that is the second aspect. Once this 2 aspects is done, this will increase significantly the user satisfaction. And from there, with that increase in user satisfaction, you are again coming back to the system to make more better decisions and etc. like that. So, it starts becoming a cycle, and every time you want to make a decision, you want to come back to the decision support system and see what the system tells you, how is it to be used and all those aspects. And in that process, you end up getting into this, and it soon starts, it will say that soon starts to become a habit. So, to seek support, you are looking for support in the decision making. So, this once this happens, then your system is accepted by the decision maker, and more things actually happen as part of this. Now, we will get into this after a short break, because the usability problems of the web based decision support systems is a critical aspect for us, and that we need to think through before we start learning HTML, and that also gives us an explanation why HTML and HTML forms are important tool for decision making. Thank you.